it's a Reaction Monday, and I guess we got stuff to react to, kind of like this. All right, so we're going to invert the show. The way that we traditionally do things is Abe bats leadoff at 9 whenever. Abe is in two places at once. We talked about Atlanta United, and it's on tape, so it pretty much can go anywhere. That's the beautiful part of all of this. The breaking news that happened as of 4 minutes ago, Mauricio Pochettino has signed an extension. Officially official. Headline, U.S. Soccer. U.S. Soccer Federation and Mauricio Pochettino agree to a new contract through 2030, launching a new chapter in the project that will allow Pochettino and his coaching staff to continue the growth of the senior U.S. men's national team while having a greater impact on the U.S. soccer ecosystem. Paragraph. Widely regarded as one of the world's top managers, Pochettino joined the USMNT in September of 24, focused primarily on preparing the MNT for the FIFA World Cup of 26. With this new commitment, he and the coaching staff will also advise and support U.S. soccer on the broader development of the full national team pathway, youth soccer, coaching education, professional league collaboration, and other technical facets across the soccer community. Quote from J.T. Batson. Mauricio and his staff believe in the future of soccer in the United States, and our new project allows us to build on progress of the USMNT and the momentum of U.S. soccer. We know we have a lot of work to do to achieve our clear ambitions, including competing to win men's World Cups and having soccer become the most played sport in every community. I couldn't be more excited that Mauricio and his team are committed to partnering with all of us to do the hard work to bring those ambitions to life, end quote. New agreement follows the historic FIFA World Cup campaign. Pochettino set the MNT record for most tournament wins by a head coach. U.S. won Group outright for only the third time in men's national team history. Defeated Bosnia-Herzegovina 2-0 in the round of 32. Program's first knockout stage victory since 2002, setting a U.S. MNT record for wins in a single World Cup. Attacking approach that defined the run saw the U.S. score in all 5 matches, net at least 2 goals in 4 of them. Quoting Pochettino. Working together with U.S. Soccer over the past 2 years, it's become clear to us that there's tremendous potential to make the men's national team program even stronger. The passion we experienced from the fans throughout the World Cup only strengthened our belief in what is possible here. We're excited by the opportunity to bring all our experience and knowledge to even more areas of U.S. soccer while helping strengthen the pathway for players, coaches, and teams across the federation. We want to try to have a lasting impact on the sport in the country that has welcomed us so warmly, and for that impact to extend beyond results on the field. Paragraph. In his first full cycle with the MNT, Pochettino will have the opportunity to test and strengthen the player pool through numerous official competitions ahead of the qualifying process for the 2030 FIFA World Cup, competing in 27 CONCACAF Nations League, 27 CONCACAF Gold Cup, 29 CONCACAF Nations League, 29 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Quote from Sidney Parlow-Cohn. Have that as we go. 62 players have earned a cap under Pochettino since October of 24, coming from 16 different leagues, 12 different countries on the scoring front. A total of 23 different players have tallied at least one of the 53 goals scored during his tenure. Let's see. Youth development. Pochettino's success comes from the continuity of his trusted staff. Jesus Perez, Miguel D'Agostino, Tony Jimenez worked alongside him for 15 years. This appointment and broader investment in the U.S. men's national team program is being supported in significant part by a philanthropic leadership gift from Kenneth C. Griffin, founder and CEO of Citadel and founder of Griffin Catalyst. Additional support has been provided by Scott Goodwin, Adam Freed, and several commercial partners. UEFA Pro license, fluent in 3 languages. I told you we're flipping the show. So it's time to flip the show. Bart Keeler coming in, SoccerForUSPod. Yeah, you guys.
Oh, John, good morning.
Yeah. Well, it was, traditionally you come in an hour number 2. This hit my notes 4 minutes to air, and I'm like, so, can you come in early and we'll just flip the whole rundown? So we're flipping the rundown. Initial reaction.
Well, I mean, I think this is a good thing. And I know I'm Mr. Don't give a guy a second cycle, but I think it's fair to say he did not have a first cycle. He was the savior of the cycle he jumped into. And now, after watching, I think a mostly successful World Cup, U.S. Soccer felt that they wanted to keep this caliber of coach for another 4 years. And I think that really is where we're at, is seeing U.S. Soccer do something in a big way. It worked. All right. And so they want to keep doing it. And I think that is a mostly positive. We can talk probably later about maybe some of the, I don't know about this or I don't know about that. But right now, I think this is a positive move from U.S. Soccer.
Yeah. So you now end up with the 2030 cycle. And this was next camp is a joint September-October international window, 2 weeks for friendlies. Details yet to be announced. And so now it's once again 17, 12, and 2, 31 matches, 1 draw and a PK shootout win CONCACAF Gold Cup, 22 months at the helm. And you get the and this is from Henry Bushnell at The Athletic. Engineering a rebuild throughout 25, USMNT, that was the wording that was there, engineering a rebuild throughout 2025. So when we look at what Mauricio Pochettino in his 22 months was able to do, so he hops in and is brought into all of this. Work through the progression for me of what you saw with him and his staff in charge from when he walked in the door, prepping everything and getting ready for the World Cup. What was it that you and everybody at the Soccer for USPod saw in that 22 months of development to get to that point in the World Cup where you saw things that you hadn't seen for quite some time?
Well, I think what he walked into was a locker room a little devoid of confidence, and certainly a locker room that felt very, I think the problem was comfortability. They felt comfortable coming into the national team program. They felt comfortable with their spots as starters, as players, or whatever. And so his main goal throughout everything was to increase competition, right? I think that it was very evident after the Nations League debacle of 2025, which, by the way, his first real competitive matches come in November in the Nations League. And I think he saw there that there was just a lot of guys who were just quite honestly comfortable. And he didn't like that. He doesn't want you to be comfortable. He wants you to be seeking discomfort. I think that's probably the term that I would say is you want to feel like you're being pushed. You want to feel like you're being asked to do more than you have before. And so he kind of sought out finding ways to create dissonance, maybe between a player and their starting position or players being called up at all. And so he brought in a lot of guys. It started in that Gold Cup that summer, but continued in the fall, of guys who he felt could compete for those starting spots. Now, I think that he did a good job of creating that tension, creating players who had to fight a little bit harder, or creating an environment where the players had to fight harder, I should say. But I will say at the end of the day, the World Cup roster was not all that different from what we saw back in the 2025 Nations League. However, I think that was something that the biggest culture shift he kind of instilled was just creating some discomfort, creating competition amongst players and in the locker room.
Well, and one of the things that we always hear about, and I'm going to bust open my coach's LaRousse here, is the idea of suffering. When it comes to those larger matchups that, you're the decided underdog in, and then you come up with a competitive advantage somewhere, the idea of suffering to get to an intended result. So suffering through to a positive, I guess, is basically how I'm trying to phrase it. And so you have the on the field suffering where, if you're having to persevere as a team, you get to see that. And then once again, persevering as an individual where you have to keep your spot. You got to earn your keep, as we say around here. And so I think that he was not afraid to, after a cycle, sit there and go, okay, well, I want competition at this position. And so what does that do? It makes sure that you're reminded, okay, nothing is safe. My job is not safe. Therefore, I have to give that much more effort. I think that that's something. I don't think we necessarily saw that with past head coaches with the MNT. It was like, okay, here's my lineup, here's my roster, everything's cool.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't this way with Pochettino. He wanted competition, he wanted contest, and he wanted you to earn your keep.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that was the biggest difference, and that's something that he brought from being a very successful club coach, because you really get to build that competition at the club level.
Mm-hmm.
However, John, and this is slightly getting into the concerns.
Sure.
And this isn't necessarily a Pochettino thing, but this is one of those like, well, he's got to do this to prove that it was worth it, because I don't think I heard a number listed in the press release, but we know he was on about $5 million a year, somewhere between $4.5 to $5.5 million over the 2 years of his first contract. I'm John, maybe I'm a little naive. I don't think he's gonna, or I don't know, maybe jaded, but I don't think he's gonna take less than that for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. This is where he can earn his keep, because you can still criticize him and maybe specifically the player pool. They still didn't really beat anyone of note. And I hate to say that and be kind of a Debbie Downer in that way, but when you look in the fall, they did beat Japan. The Japan side had kind of rotated a little bit from the first to the second friendly, but you beat Japan. You beat Uruguay, which we now know is probably one of the most cataclysmic soccer teams out there right now. Who'd you beat? And so I think that maybe is the one thing that, the team needs to start trying to accomplish. And I think Pochettino understands that in his own right. I mean, you lost to Belgium twice this year, mm-hmm. Both of them by pretty wide margins. And so that does give him, I think, a little bit of a sense of a hunger and a taste to want to take this to the next level.
And you mentioned the concerns. You now have coming out of the World Cup, we now have a couple of different things, and I'm literally staring at 2 aisles in the grocery store right now. You have, and it was mentioned in the release,
are you looking at the signs trying to figure out which one is which and figure out if that item is on the same aisle?
Yes, I am actually. And should I get the generic or should I get the brand name? You have an opportunity, as was posited in the release, for Pochettino and his staff to have a full cycle to take his philosophy and go top down with it. So it's an opportunity to have the YNTs, which was another reason I wanted to have you in this morning, was to talk about what's going on in Mexico with the U20s. Yeah. You have the opportunity now to take that philosophy, the philosophy of Poch, and you get to go top down with it. And so you get the chance to have every part of that philosophical DNA going from top down, or however you want to phrase it, either top down or bottom up, to get you into a first team position. Second aisle was, you are now in a roster which in a couple of places you're going to be looking at starters. There's going to be starting positions that are going to be up and running. And you're also now getting into the maturity of a lot of this roster that's going to be mid to late 20s, early 30s in 2030. So it's an interesting place for this roster to be, with a coach who is staying, with impact that's being made in the age groups leading up to first team roster being what it was, and I'll grab it in a second, and then those who are moving on from the roster to create those openings in that competition that you're looking for heading into September and October. Am I making any sense at all without any caffeine?
Oh, yeah, I haven't had any either. So, this announcement came like literally as I'm getting ready to pour the coffee grounds into the coffee maker. So I think, John, this is a concern I have, if I'm going to be blunt, because his first stint, the first 2 years, he did not seem super interested in the nurturing of players. And if you're talking about youth development, that requires, nurturing. But we do not currently have I guess you could say a sporting director or a top-down person whose job it is to oversee all of the, I guess, tactical and philosophical directions of our men's national team program. But Emma Hayes has been doing quite okay without having that. Okay. And so maybe that's the thought, is Pochettino can guide that and help, Gonzalo Segarra, I'm trying to remember his name, is the coach of the U20s.
Right.
And other guys below that, to really unlock what he wants to see. Now, this has been a debate that's come in the post-World Cup as Spain wins a World Cup. So now everyone thinks, we've got to have a clear top-down identity that every kid in America is playing with from, age 2 months to 99 years old. And one, that's just impossible. But I do want to say that I think Pochettino has identified core characteristics of the American player and American teams. And I think that is something that we got away from during the Berhalter era, to be frank, because one of the issues that we do have with some of the, I don't want to say old heads, that's not fair, but the guys who come from the 2002 to 6 era playing for this team,
the old guard, the grads.
Well, the old grads. Yeah. There's a little bit of an inferiority complex there, right? We can't just be hustle and fight. Mm-hmm. Well, you can be. If those are the two things that you hang your hat on as a U.S. soccer team, and a untold amount of American belief that I think Pochettino has kind of tapped into as well, that can be the framework of how you play soccer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that Pochettino's team kind of, his philosophies fit well into, right? I mean, he is a guy who does like pressing, but still wants to play good soccer. And so if that's something that he can instill from the U17s up until, 20s, and then again, 2 years, we got the Olympics. And if you can see that at the Olympics in 2008 or 28, that is a good stepping stone for then 2030. And I think that part is something that I'm interested to see him actually do, because again, not something he was super, super interested in the past 2 years. I mean, he was frank about telling players didn't get called up. They know why, and I think if I'm going to be blunt, he needs to be a little more willing to answer some questions that players ask him in the next 4 years. Because, Tanner Tessman didn't get a call up to the World Cup. And we'll talk about this on the podcast in kind of some retrospectives of the World Cup. Did he get his final roster right? Because it's kind of fair to say we didn't really have a whole lot of options off the bench once things didn't start going well for us in that Belgium game. Mm-hmm. Is that a Pochettino thing or a player pool thing? Is a whole nother conversation. But I think it's a little bit of a, if you're in charge of the whole program, mm-hmm. you kind of need to give Tanner Tessman a few things like, hey man, look, we told you we needed X, Y, and Z. You just weren't quite there. Or if you're looking at, this is just an example because he's close to home. If you're looking at a Cooper Sanchez, right? And you get post U20 World Cup next year, because I think it's fair to say we expect Cooper to be part of the U20 World Cup next year. Yeah. And he has a good World Cup, or maybe he doesn't have quite the World Cup he was hoping for. What role will he play in helping that player take some things and say, hey man, these were some deficiencies we saw, or some areas that you could improve upon? And so I do think we're going to need that from Pochettino if he's going to be here for a full 4-year cycle. Yeah. And maybe he understands that. Maybe that was the whole point of his 2 years, is like, I ain't here to help y'all figure out why you suck. I'm here to help you, pick the best players that can win. I don't know. We got something to do. We got a place to get into. Yeah. So let's work on this now.
let's get there, do our thing, and just kind of put the bandages and the KT tape and do whatever. We'll get that squared away,
Yeah.
and then we'll call the architect, and then we'll bring the firm in, and everybody's going to have the hard hats and the blueprints and everything, and then we can work on it. But right now, short term, got to get things done and go.
Yeah. And so the next 4 years, if he is going to be playing a role in the youth national teams as well as the senior national team,
right,
I'm curious how that's going to play out for him.
And I'm kind of helping you out here a little bit with 151. Matt Turner will, and this is taking the roster, capital T, capital R, and applying it to 2030. Matt Turner would be 36. Matt Freese would be 31. Chris Brady would be 26. That's keepers. And then recent call-ups, you would go Schulte's 29, Celentano's 29, Jonathan Klinsman 33. But once again, this is not taking into account anyone coming up through the system. This is just looking at roster and call-ups from the tournament that just passed and getting ready for tournament that just passed. Like I said, we will be, and we are so the fact that it's down in Fayetteville, get to look at this whole thing for the next 4 years. Gonzalo Segueras. Well, I'm sure they will.
It's not a very big parking lot.
Yes, Gonzalo. That's true, and they got to work on that out by the Parkway. Gonzalo Segueras definitely going to be having a bit of a microscope now, more than he did over the weekend, considering continuing age groups. Serginho Dest would be 29. Chris Richards will be 30. Jedi 32. Austin Trusty 31. Miles 33. Like I said, I'm just reading names and adding 4. Tim Ream 42. Okay, fine. Like I said, I'm just adding years. We can.
He might be an assistant coach.
And
Pochettino lessons from Tim Ream.
But the thing is, you might be correct in that. Alex Freeman 25, Max Arston 29. It provided Middlesbrough lets him out. Mark McKenzie 31, Joe Scally 27, Tyler Adams 31, Gio Reyna 27, Weston McKinney 31, Sebastian Berhalter 29. Christian Roldan would be 35. I'm sure he's priced himself out on his DOB. Malik Tillman, 28. Ricardo Pepe, 27. Pulisic, 31. Brendan Aronson, 29. Haji Wright, 32. Valerian Balogun, 29. Timothy Weah is 30. Alex Zendejas, 32. John Tolkien, 28. CCV, 32. Nathan Harriel, 29. Tristan Blackman, 33. Noah Kai Banks would be 23, a part of that wave we've been talking about. Tanner Tessman, 28. Morris, 28. Johnny, 28. Diego Luna, 26. Timothy Tillman, 31. Sean Zawatsky, 30. James Sands at 30. Luca De La Torre, Jack McGlynn. Big Pat would be 29. Josh Sargent would be 30. Damian Downs would be 26. So you're looking at a lot just of recent call-ups and the roster that was in this tournament just passed. You're looking at a lot of folks that are going to be late 20s, early 30s. So unless something happens career-wise, a lot of these names will be a part of the discussion in addition to what we're seeing. And I think that makes the U20s an interesting magnifying glass as to what the future could look like on a couple of different fronts.
Well, and let's be frank. This cycle is 180 degrees different from the last cycle, John.
Yeah.
Because what did we not have last cycle? Any worry about qualifying? I guess we had like a year of like, are we going to have to do qualifying or not? And then we did not have to go through qualifying. So right. I do think one of the things that the benefit of last cycle was you can explore every player. You can uncover turn over every stone you want, because who cares? I mean, really, I care, but like, who cares if you win or lose a friendly or,
right.
Whatever. Problem was we didn't have enough stone uncovering during the first couple years under Berhalter. And I think that was something the Federation recognized. Will Pochettino, again, who is a club manager, and we know club managers love to bring in their guys. Look at Tata Martino right now. And I am curious if he himself will kind of find that space of comfort with players who have helped him get to the World Cup and maybe performed well at the World Cup. I mean, we saw he had an 11 that he trusted and like 2 guys off the bench that he trusted. Right. He's going to have to expand that. Now, hopefully a 4-year cycle, he'll be able to do that. So again, it's not a concern necessarily. It's just reality of, well, you went from a weird cycle. You had no qualification. You fired a coach mid-cycle because he couldn't do anything in a home Copa America. You get a new guy in. He's got to go through warp speed trying to find his 26-player roster for a World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Ends up being mostly the same. You know, where do we go from here? And to your point, there's going to be guys who get into that 30-year-old age group.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of talent coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone explain it like this, and I love this analogy. It's like going to the kiosk at the Kroger and buying a whole bunch of lottery tickets. Some of them ain't gonna hit at all.
Yep.
Some of them might be scratchers that you feel really confident, like, hey, you know what? The scratcher, I'm probably getting 10, 20 bucks, right? It feels good. Some of them are gonna be mega millions where you're like, I don't know, man, I'm just seeing how this is gonna go. And they might turn out to be a really good win. That is something that I look forward to over the next, couple years, really, before we get into qualifying proper next fall. But it is going to be the goal of Mauricio Pochettino now, and the responsibility seems to be solely his, of developing the players as they come from 20 to 23 to the full national team.
I would posit that in that 22 months, you mentioned basically starting 11 short bench. I would posit that because he only had 2 months short of 2 years, since he was only there for half a cycle, I think it goes into that notion of, okay, in this World Cup, which is huge for the sport here in this hemisphere, who can I trust and know that they are going to do what I ask them to do in this important situation? So that's why I would say, okay, starting 11 short bench, I get it. It's like, look, you're in this massive tournament that's really important to you locally. Let's focus on doing as best we can. I know who I can trust. Now that you have everything in this cycle getting ready for 2030, now you can kind of breathe a little bit, if this makes sense, if that's the proper analogy. It's like, okay, now I can open things up a little bit. I can kind of look at things in 3 dimensions. I can see who my young guys are coming up. I can see who I trusted from my World Cup group as they're going to continue to age up. But once again, we have no earthly idea, unless someone's got a magic 8 ball that I don't know about, how many of these dudes that were on the World Cup roster will be continuing to elevate their game in a 4-year thing. Like I said, I was just looking at a roster to add in 4 years.
I mean, we have a rumor right now of Gio Reyna going to Strasbourg.
Right.
Strasbourg.
So, okay.
That who knows? Maybe this is the move that finally Gio Reyna becomes a good soccer player. I don't know. Or a good professional, I should say.
Yeah.
You're right. Who knows? We got Alex Freeman, who just went to Villarreal, but he started every match for us in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm. And what was it? Basically, year and a half ago, we were talking about him, just getting reps with the purple team, and 2.5 years ago, we're talking about him at OCB.
Yeah.
So
we got Middlesbrough assigning half the kids out of the state of Ohio.
Yes. Yes. So it is a new dawn. Basically, it is zero and starting from ground up now. Yeah, okay, everything was passed. You did what you did. And you mentioned your concerns. Let me go to the flip side of that. What are you the most confident in or the most sure of with Mauricio Pochettino in charge?
Well, I think the first thing are 2 positives. That U.S. Soccer moved quickly on this. I don't love that they extended the offer before the World Cup, because I think that's always a bad idea. Like the goal is the World Cup, but whatever. Mm-hmm. They moved quickly, and they did it without a sporting director, or technical director, or chief soccer officer, whatever you want to call it. So to me, that's positive.
Yes.
Because we were frightened over on the SoccerForUSPod that we were going to have to go through a 3-month search of finding a chief soccer officer, and then another 3 months of finding a head coach with some consulting firm getting a couple $100 million checks. I don't know. So that's positive. So I think the biggest thing is that he gets to start, as you mentioned, in September, and he gets 2.5 weeks with the guys, 3 weeks basically with the guys.
Yeah.
That's huge, right? Because you get the double match window, or I guess quadruple match window, but the double match window.
It's a quad.
I will say, my reporting indicates that we will find that out this week. At least some matches, because last week U.S. soccer staff basically took, not all of them, obviously some people had to work, but most of them took the week off. I don't know if you would imagine, John, they were pretty busy this whole summer.
I'm thinking.
So that is the positive, in my opinion, is that when you look at Pochettino, he is able to start with his plan and only his plan for the next 4-year cycle. That, I think, for him is probably one of the more attractive things about why he wanted to come back. Because, again, we offered him a job. Sure. I don't know if he had any real, I don't want to say intentions to stay, but I do think he was probably looking at big jobs in Europe.
Which all got kind of taken up. Yeah.
Did they get taken up by better coaches? I don't know. We'll ask Nick Khalifi in about 3 months. But we'll say, no offense, Nick, but we know y'all been going through it. So I think that's the positive, is homeboy wanted to be here. I think he truly did fall in love with the idea of growth. I mean, we're still in the project of American soccer, are we not?
Yeah.
I think Pochettino actually likes that. He's a sicko who enjoys that idea. Maybe he likes the lemons over here better too. I don't know. They're a lot closer if you consider you're in Fayetteville. Now, we'll see. I don't know where he lives. I don't know if he's in Atlanta.
No,
I'd imagine
they probably have they've got a nice joint for him in Trilith, like a nice condo or something. But I think he still has residency over
several places. Yeah. But yeah, I would imagine they have a nice spot for him down at the town at Trilith. Regardless, heck of a lot closer, I think, to the lemons you probably want than I don't know, in London. But I think the other positive you can say is he is a good coach. We know this. And the thing you cannot say about this World Cup is the tactics failed. I think that was something that every game, the tactics worked the way you wanted them to. I mean, you got a 4-1 win to start the tournament. You came out, beat Australia with 2 goals. Turkey, even with the most rotated lineup you possibly could put out there, you still scored a couple goals. So the idea that you scored multiple goals in 4 out of your 5 matches, you scored a lot of goals in this 2026 so far. Even I think if you're U.S. soccer, you need a team, not one. You need a team that is exciting and worth watching, because as we saw this summer, there is an audience for the USMNT in this country. People do want to watch the U.S. soccer team, and this. I mean, the lead up showed it. I mean, you had 2 packed houses here in Atlanta. Charlotte showed up the way Charlotte normally shows up. They were mostly there. And then Chicago was fully packed. And then you go into, amazingly pro U.S. crowds during the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think U.S. soccer also sees this signing as continuing on, hopefully, the hype you built this summer and the fan base you have made at least curious, if not some of them who are on board now. And I think from that standpoint, I tweeted about this when the news of him signing kind of came out last week, as it's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not worth it. My question is, what does worth it mean?
Yeah.
Because we're still here with U.S. soccer and in American soccer. Worth it isn't always about wins and losses. If he, over the next 4-year cycle, is getting to the point where every game's sold out, or we're seeing pro U.S. crowds more often than not. I mean, look, I think we're supposed to play Mexico and Colombia here in the U.S. I'm not expecting that yet. But maybe you're like, oh man, it's not 90-10 Colombia. Maybe we got 20% of the crowd here for a Colombia match.
Right.
You know, is that then worth it? Because I think, again, you're still in the project of building American soccer. And if he wants to be a part of that from a player perspective, and then the trickle down effect of people getting excited about the U.S. men's national team, U.S. women's national team, you got an Olympics coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes it worth it for U.S. soccer as well.
The number that has been floated is north of 6. And
I would imagine that makes sense. I mean, I don't think he was going to take a pay cut.
No. But it is looking like it is north of 6 plus the added responsibility of being, I guess, corporate overseer of philosophy. Yeah. So, so being the lead,
which he enjoys. I do think we need to make that, like, you think about the places he's been before he became a big time coach.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the places he was at were hinged on youth development anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And then he got to Tottenham where, he became a big time coach, and then, PSG and all the rest, they're not youth development focused in the same way. Right. But maybe he was intrigued by that as well.
3 years at Espanyol, a season at Southampton where everybody was like, ooh, this dude can coach. And then it was 5 years at Spurs, season at PSG, season at Chelsea, and then with the USMNT. So yeah, he gets to be the lead cop, the corporate overseer of philosophy. So yeah, we'll see good cop here for the next 4 years. I wanted to get into the U20
Chief Soccer Philosophy Officer.
Chief Soccer, so the CSPO,
or Senior Vice President of Soccer Philosophy. SVP, SP.
Well, the SVP, the SVPP. It's like a VVIP, so he's the SVVP. VP. U20s. I wanted to have this part of the discussion too, because it fits into what we're discussing, even now more than it did previously. When you were supposed to be in hour number 2, it was part of the discussion, but now it fits even more now that you've been flipped into hour number 1. It is time for the knockouts at the U20s down in Puebla. It was a 5-0 win at the end of the group stage, and you now get your next matchup tomorrow night late. You beat Cuba 5-0. Ramos, Shaw, Days, Josh Torquato, and Dylan Vanny. Your lineup, just so everybody knows, Kane Razvanovic was in net, left to right. Torquato, Braden Dunham, Chris Cups, and Javon Mussenden were your back 4. Cooper Sanchez and Shaw were your 2 in front of that. Then it was Rabos, Oyarzabal, and Contreras with Swan up top. Kind of rotated, where
very rotated.
Yeah, you didn't have Colin Guskey, you didn't have Chris Applewhite. Klapia did not start. He came in and gave you 15. Dylan Vanny and then Dylan Vanny came in and gave you 25 by the time you were done. But these are some of the names, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
And actually, tell you what, 3 of them have roots here in our footprint. Cooper, Braden Dunham, and Javon Mussenden. So it's a bit of an added bonus for folks here in this particular neck of the woods. But Braden Dunham, Cooper Sanchez getting the starts for the U20s as they get ready for the knockouts down in Puebla, as you get ready for the upcoming matches now. U.S. and Guatemala, by the way, tomorrow. Costa Rica, Haiti is at 4. U.S. and Guatemala is at 9. So 9 o'clock tomorrow. I would imagine they're going to be on either FS1 or FS2. But that's the next opportunity to see what's going on in this next wave that we are anticipating, with Gonzalo Segueras helping out now Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah, I don't know if they've announced the TV time or a TV channel yet, but I think you have seen a YouTube. Well, this has been an issue with Gonzalo Segueras' teams I love Gonzalo Segueras, former Chicago Fire right back, fantastic MLS player. Anyway, one of the issues we've had with this team throughout the tournament was pretty good play, and then we get into the penalty area and we go, oh wait, we have to score. How do we do that again? And the first 2 games we won because of 2 penalty kicks and an open play goal. This game looked a lot more like, oh, okay, we can put the ball in the back of the net. That was an improvement. But overall, this team has been playing really good soccer, dominating statistics of the game. Again, would have liked to see them score a goal or 2 more against Haiti and El Salvador, but they came against Cuba. It's also fair to say that, especially in that El Salvador game, I think there was a monsoon that took place during the game.
Correct.
So, look, that creates crazy surface play and everything. And then the Haiti game, the lights went out, I think, if I remember, if I'm getting my timeline correct, the lights went out during the middle of the game. So you finally get a game in Cuba that I don't know if it was the preferred lineup, because as you mentioned, it was very rotated. The first 2 matches seemed to be what Segata's preferred, and then rotated pretty heavily, but I think found some guys who maybe can help you as you go forward. Cooper Sanchez. And you were able to kind of turn the screws a little bit harder on Cuba and put goals in the back of the net finally.
Mm-hmm.
The concern still is, can they score? I think that's still a fair concern. Yeah. But the way this tournament works is the group winners are seeded, and then you get your seeded teams who finish second, and then the 2 third place teams. So Guatemala qualified because they're a 3rd place team. US is the top seed. So look, you should be getting past Guatemala. If you do that, congrats, you're going to the U20 World Cup. Woo.
And then you win against Guatemala. You get the winner of Costa Rica and Haiti in the semis.
Yes. Unlike the 17s, this knockout tournament does mean something. You'd get a trophy at the end. We love that. It's not just qualification, because CONCACAF has changed that, and now that FIFA does I don't. This team has some players on it that I think you're right, we can keep an eye on in the future. Dylan Vanny's one of them. He's getting a move over to Europe, supposedly, son of a former USMNTer and decent enough head coach in MLS. That's great. I don't know how much talent there's on this team specifically, because being a U20 qualification tournament, I doubt every club that we could have asked to let a player go would do that. But as we saw at the U17 World Cup last summer, clubs will do it. And so again, that's kind of that's always the goal. Get to the tournament, see who you can get released from the club, and maybe you do something fun. That would be my hope. Is you're going to see, again, locally, you're going to see Cooper, because I think Atlanta United sees the value of Cooper Sanchez playing in these tournaments. I mean, shoot, I think half the team is from Ventura.
Ventura Fusion, yeah.
Ventura. Half the team, seems it's not just Dallas and Philly anymore. We've got, MLS Next Pro teams putting out. So that's good to see. And I think you're seeing a little bit of the benefit, John, of the MLS Next Pro setup here. Most of these guys are playing for an MLS Next Pro team, some of them playing for a full MLS team, but you're getting more guys used to being professionals, and you can see that touches are a little bit more sharp. Passes are a little more crisp. You are playing with the responsibility of knowing we have to get a result here, because in the past, I think a lot of these guys who were maybe playing in USL 2, or not 2, USL Championship for their 2s team, this sounds bad. There wasn't it wasn't incentivized. Yes, because you kind of just were like, well, we're here because we got to play somewhere. I think with Next Pro, there is because you feel like you're on the same competition level with these teams. You're battling a little harder. No, I think Dylan Vanny is one to look at for sure. I don't want to take anything away from the goalkeepers who have played. They haven't had a whole lot to do. But if you are on goalkeeper watch for the future, There are guys in this that possibly could be part of those discussions, especially if we're looking at, Olympics in 2 years. So keep an eye on the goalkeepers. Riz will be fun to watch, I think, mainly just because the kids will enjoy that name. But
Kane Rizvanovic, people. It's Kane Rizvanovic. Yes, we know.
Kane Riz.
I
think that's interesting. The center back play has been, I think, the one position that most people want to figure out tomorrow, because you mentioned Tim Ream. Look, bless his little heart, his old knees, his old hamstrings. But I think it's safe to say Tim Ream's not part of the 2030 World Cup.
No.
Just saying. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else on this roster that just played over the summer outside of Chris Richards proved anything for the next cycle.
Right.
And so within the USMNT sphere that we see talking about this a lot, the questions are, who's the next center back? I'm not saying either of these guys who have played a lot in this Cups specifically are going to be the next guy, mainly because they're 19, 20. But that's the position we're looking at as we go forward, especially if we don't know what Noah Kai Banks is going to do.
Right.
So I would watch this team for those two positions, goalkeeper and center back, because who knows? They might be the dude who's playing next. You don't know. I think there's some talent on this team. They've shown pretty well, but I think, again, they're 19. So I don't know how much of a factor they'll play throughout the whole cycle. But with the Olympics in 2028, I think they also see, if you're a player on this team, you have to be looking at that and saying, hey, 2028, playing in an Olympics here at home. I want that honor beyond just the U20 World Cup next year.
Nations Leagues, Olympics, Gold Cups, then you get to 2030 before you know it. A couple of other things that I wanted to discuss with you. Like I said, since we flipped the rundown this morning and you turned into the lead, because when news breaks, we try to at least, put
this is big news.
It is, yeah. And so I'm glad you were able to hop on to lead off with us this morning. I did want to get into what's going on with the FIFA, and I did want to get into reffing down here before, because the reffing down here discussion will transition into the other coverage and the other news and the hydration break and all that other kind of stuff. So let me go with FIFA first. From our buddy Ben Jacobs, more on the English and Welsh FAs withdrawing their support for Gianni Infantino. Alexander Sefrin pushing for a blank removal of UEFA support for Infantino. English FA will write to Infantino to remove support given before the World Cup ahead of March's presidential election. The Welsh FA confirmed they've already written to Infantino and point to, quote, failures in good governance processes, leadership, values, stakeholder management, communications, and sound judgment, end quote. Talk Sport understands some CONCACAF members will also remove their support in a move driven by potential presidential candidate Victor Montagliani. That makes perfect sense. UEFA carries 55 votes. 106 are needed to gain a majority from the 211 member associations. 1 vote per Fed, regardless of size or stature. UEFA can't oust Infantino, and this has been Jacob's words. UEFA can't oust Infantino without backing from other Feds or confederations. Infantino retains strong support from the Confederation of African Football, and although the Asian Football Confederation opposed the so-called FIFA Forward Enterprise plans, there is not unanimous opposition to Infantino within the Confederation. Qatar and Sri Lanka have both come out in favor of the president. There are several within Infantino's own leadership team who now want him to resign, yet the president is currently doing his own maths to assess whether he has enough support to fight on. So that's Ben Jacobs while we were sleeping and then gradually waking up to this morning. And UEFA is, according to the 4-letter, which is also being very, very moody with me on my app this morning. So you now have stuff going on with UEFA and their intent to shoot. I think at this point, the only thing maybe missing would be Judge Wapner and Doug Llewellyn. I don't know. I mean, it might be something people's court-ish at this point, threatening Infantino with legal action over the FFE. And the governing body has written to 4 separate either persons or entities to inform them that it is considering legal action over their association with the proposal. The four-letter network has seen a document preservation letter addressed to Infantino, a formal written request sent to stop the destruction of evidence to ensure documents relevant to a dispute will be retained for possible legal action. And so that is where we are with all of that. So you're starting to see individual nations come out with letters with thumbs downs. You're starting to see federations. UEFA is going to be at the front of the line with all of this stuff. But now it'll be interesting to see who comes in line, because you're looking at, I think, 150 are needed for any kind of a removal, but half just for proposals and such. And so you're going to be getting into the math now if you're the man in charge of FIFA.
Well, let's. There's a lot of things going on here. So let's just start with the fact that I think there is absolutely a lack of confidence in Gianni Infantino.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say there's no confidence, because that's a whole different thing. Right now, it does seem like you have a split of, oh, Gianni's great, he's going to make us money,
right,
from Nigeria, Qatar,
right,
guys who you would expect, who are only focused about how they're getting their next paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real honest. The problem you have is, I think CONCACAF's statement to me captured the stance of more of the non-UEFA nations than anything, where they're mad at Gianni for acting way more authoritarian than anyone ever has before in this FIFA president role. I mean, the FIFA president role is not meant to be the official decider of everything FIFA does. And it does feel like over the past couple of years, with the Club World Cup, with hydration breaks, with all these things that then led up to this FIFA Forward initiative, I think a lot of people are tired of his
They're tired of his
bullying behavior.
They're tired of his solo work. They want him to get back to
I mean, he's now, granted, a lot of presidents of nonprofits act alone, let's be real honest, but this is not your typical nonprofit. This is a multi-million-dollar organization that happens to be a nonprofit with people, I think that's just where they're at. Is FIFA is not Gianni. Gianni is not FIFA. And Gianni is not soccer, despite him thinking that he is the overlord of everything that is soccer. And I think they're tired of it. And so that is where I think the true issues lie here. It's not necessarily the stance UEFA has taken. I mean, even Czechia's president thought that this was a good move. But it's not just the, wow, I can't believe he's selling off, the commercial rights for the FIFA World Cups. Yeah, that's a problem for people, but it's not a problem when you get that $20 million check, is it?
Yeah.
The problem is these confederations don't want to lose control. These individual member FAs don't want to lose control. And they feel like they're being told how to do everything by a man who, to be frank, cozies up to some of the worst leaders in the world. I mean, we see how tight he is with the Saudi government right now, and taking on money from that standpoint, giving them an entire World Cup that apparently is going to have to be pushed to January 2035 now because of Ramadan takes place apparently during
factors,
which we haven't talked about yet. Let alone you're asking an entire country, and I know they can, but asking an entire country in Saudi Arabia to build stadiums from scratch. They only had 2 before this, and it's very Qatar, and it just seems like people are fed up with his antics more than anything. And yes, again, it's nice when you get that paycheck coming in, to your quote federation. Where that money goes after is another question. And this has been the biggest issue with fans, I think, more than anything, is what was how much it was 20. It was at 20 million or billion that he was promising federations through the FIFA.
They were
I think it was 20 million.
It was a 20. It's in exchange. Each of the member associations were offered a one-off $20 million
bribe.
in early 27 and a bump in funding allocation from the 27 to 30 cycle from 8 million to 20 million. So basically you get 20 million for walking in the door, and then 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30, you get another $36 million in that bump in funding if you okey doke it. So you're looking at over a 3-year period north of $50 million. And there are a lot of federations, especially in the African continent and Asia as it continues to develop, in Oceania, where you're looking to increase the game and its importance within your country. And that funding is vital for success and for growth, not just in the men's game, but the women's game across the board. And so you have those individuals that are in charge of those federations who can be viewed.
But where is that money going? Where is that money going? That is the question, because you have plenty of nations across this world that are getting this money and have. I mean, look, let's be real honest. Johnny has increased the payouts to these countries a lot, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
To these federations. Where's that money going? We don't know. What we do know is here in the U.S., we had 2 guys who were in charge of things over here in this hemisphere, right? Who got big time in trouble for embezzling and making sure money wasn't going to where it said it was supposed to go.
I mean,
and
one gentleman, I believe, was actually building pools in his backyard in suburban Atlanta in a
and then so if we knew that happened here with CONCACAF and in the US, you're telling me that didn't happen other places in the world?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm turned cold by the sins of the world. But I think that's the question: is you're because what it felt like was a bribe to the people voting. Yeah, not to the federations.
Right. And he is up for re-election. I believe he only has one more term that he is allowed to be president, but he's up for re-election in March. And that is at the FIFA.
I think we will be seeing some real jockeying for that position. I mean, Victor Montagnani, who's president of CONCACAF, has kind of stepped up a little bit. It wouldn't be surprised if Safarin, who's in charge of UEFA, would step up.
Well, and there's also a discussion that if Safarin wants to stay in charge of UEFA, I have also heard that the president of Legia Warsaw's name has been floated as the European nominee for lack of a better. So, and that would be Safarin.
I doubt
Safarin backed. Yeah.
My hot take.
Sure.
You've
never had those. You've never had those.
Yeah. My hot prediction is I think we might see a FIFA president from not Europe. The last 2 have been European.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues is they win the support of the European vote because, it's Europe, he'll help us out.
Right.
Both of them have been very focused on not Europe, to be frank, right? That you don't do a 48 team and then a 64 team World Cup because you want Europe to have better soccer.
Right.
Right. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, look, we need to uplift soccer around the world. No one's saying we don't. The Marshall Islands deserve money to help make their soccer program better.
Amen, brother.
But I'm thinking the next president will not be from Europe. That's just something that I can't get off of, thinking that I think someone from a country who, a federation who does actually need the support to grow.
Yeah.
Right. But understands maybe a little bit better how it actually should happen.
Yeah. Well, Victor Montagnani has mentioned it is a hope/wish, however you want to phrase it, that being FIFA president could be a part of his CV at one point. He has mentioned that.
I think Carlos Cordero might be aligning himself for that, to be frank. I mean, I think he had a pretty disastrous tenure as U.S. soccer president. But
and considering the breakup that he had last week with Gianni Infantino, where he was, I believe, one of the first ones to break ranks in the FFE setup. But does CONCACAF back him because of his past in the United States?
I don't know.
See, that's why I'm thinking if it's anybody out of this hemisphere, I think it's Montaliani that gets nominated, and then everybody who pieced it all together for 2030 is like, yeah, we like Vic, whatever. So
I think we should let's make Leo Messi the president. So that'll appease Argentina, and then
CONMEBOL, no kidding.
He'll be part of the next World Cup anyway.
No kidding. At 43, I'm not putting anything past him.
Almost got John to break the barrier today.
Well, no, shoot. When have I never broken? Yeah, when have I never broken the barrier? Come on now. Look, it's a Monday and it's an E. Okay, so by the way, since we have passed the top of the hour, it's time for a hydration break. You've been hydrating. You're good. Yeah, hydration break. And that is not what is in his cup, people, as far as we know.
It's not. Sorry. It's just it keeps my water at a good temperature.
There you go.
Because of these.
Yes.
Yeah. Got to show off the fact that I went to the USA Australia match.
There you go. Hydration break brought to us by our friends at local wine, beer, wine, and liquor stores, and 2 locations here in the Atlanta area, Johns Creek and Cumberland. It is at the corner of Cumberland Parkway and Cobb Parkway, and I've been there, and the store is huge. So you're going to go in, and you're going to end up buying everything known to mankind. It will be the king of the impulse buy if you go to the one in Cobb, as we now take on hour number 2 from the Kaiser Permanente studios here on a Monday. Now kind of transitioning into reffing down here. I have a moment from the match that happened on Saturday. Actually, I have 2. We can play. I will tell you what I'll do is I will play one, then I will play the other, and then we will discuss. And I have kept you way longer than I traditionally keep you, but obviously with the broken news this morning, I had to I knew I was going to have you in normally anyway, but the other broken news kind of helped us out here. So, all right. So I've got to get the courtesy in so folks don't get mad. Let's see. All right. So 2 plays that I want to play, and I want to walk us through reffing down here. So this is the first one, and this is from the 27th minute from what happened in the match on the weekend. And here's the call that pretty much flipped everything.
Back to Zonzaga, the right halfway line, drives it down the middle, this time for Awosky, who's clipped and fouled. And what do you know? A red card! A red card is shown to Anaya Mahai. A straight red. Atlanta will be down a man for the final 65 minutes of the match.
This has been a joke of a night. Chapman's arguing again, bug-eyed, yelling at Anaya Mihai. This has been awful appearance from Alan Chapman in the way he's managed this game, because it has felt extremely one-sided in the way he has reacted to everything that has happened on the pitch. We need to look at it again, but that's quick. He was immediately grabbing the back pocket.
Well, they've shown the replay in the stadium. We can't see it because we can't see the scoreboard here. Chapman is touching his ear, communicating with the VAR.
He already had the conversation.
It's over.
He just whipped the back of his hand towards Mahai.
The red stands. I'd sure like to see a replay.
That'd be nice.
So Atlanta tried to play with 5 in the back, but they've just lost the center back in Anaya Mahai, and Atlanta will have to play down a man, and now we get the replay. It looks like he went studs into the back of Awosky's right leg.
He didn't launch himself into it. If anything, he stepped on him, which is judgment call. They didn't show us anything in a replay to make that easy to tell.
Because they showed it at real speed.
Yeah, that feels extremely quick. Would love to see a better look at that. But man, that's fast. That's really quick to make that decision.
All right, so that's one play of 2. Expound, sir, on what to us anyway, and I have a philosophical question to follow up this particular play, but go ahead with your initial thoughts.
It's a red card. Sorry.
Huh.
Can't put your studs on a guy's Achilles like that.
Okay.
And I would argue against Jason that we don't talk about intent. That's a pretty fast moving play. So there was some force involved. It is a letter of the law red card.
Okay.
I wasn't shocked that it came out.
Huh. Okay.
I just wasn't. Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Our team sucks and it's not the referee's fault, but this was a bad refereeing game.
Right.
But this is what happens to bad teams. This is what happens to bad teams. And that's kind of where I'm at with this is like, if we were good and had been good any time in the past half decade, I don't know if this is given a red card, maybe there's just a level of like, nah, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
That's what happens when you're a bad team. You're going to get red cards like this.
All right. And what I'm trying,
from a referee standpoint,
yeah,
studs in the back, like this is the point. A referee sees a guy coming into a tackle with some speed. Studs go in the back of the Achilles. That looks bad. That's bad. You're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. It's a red card.
Okay.
And again, I'm just saying that the frustration for us is this is another thing that happens to our team in a bad season. However, that doesn't mean that this decision was incorrect. And we can argue about Alan Chapman not being up to the task at all.
And that's part of
this game.
And that's part of what I wanted to get into, because what I'm doing here is I was taking the on-field performance out of the discussion. It is a separate element in this that it's like
it is and it isn't. I'm just saying that like philosophically, this team has something over it right now.
Right, yeah, it does. No, it does.
Where this type of decision goes against us.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where had we gotten away with it, we'd go, wow, we were lucky. It's again, okay. Miami gets away with a lot of these, right?
Yeah, Jordan rules.
They get the benefit of the doubt. That's just what it comes down to. And we don't have that benefit. And so when a referee sees this happen in front of him, he's going to go to his red card. Now, do I think he should have? No, I think he should have given a yellow card and let VAR say, hey, I think we need to escalate this, because there were multiple fouls in the same first half that were at very similar levels of
and that's
force,
and
contact.
And that to me would have been my point, is go yellow. And then if VAR felt compelled to call Alan Chapman to a monitor, then you've got your wiggle room. But Chapman went bang, and he goes quick.
I mean, it's not like he put his studs particularly high up the leg. Like I will say that. Like it's still a pretty, in my opinion, it is a pretty like, he's going for the ball.
Yeah, but he's not.
There's a whole person in front of him, in between him and the ball.
Right.
And his studs go into the Achilles, which is above the shoe of the attacker. And so again, this is unfortunately a letter of the law red card.
I could have seen yellow here, and on the whole, I mean, we've seen slides that have been far worse, where you've seen folks raise their legs when they've made contact. This one was just straight flush. But then if that call is made, then let's go to the 67th minute and have this call in comparison. And once again, from Saturday night.
With Philadelphia kicking off, playing up a man, but down 2-0 as Kevin Sullivan comes down the left wing for Philadelphia and centers to Jesus Bueno. Flick to Frankie Westfield, and they reverse now to the right wing to Quinn Sullivan. So the Sullivan brothers have inverted. Quinn Sullivan popping it into the box. Westfield, edge of the 6. His cross is blocked. Will Riley collides with Papa Pico. Out of the nets comes Damiani to knock it back to Quinn Sullivan. To Westfield, low front, blocked at the near post, foul. Foul on Philadelphia. And now the Atlanta players step over the fouling player. A yellow card to Damiani as well for the foul, who should be playing on a persistent infringement yellow. Yep. And Atlanta United is standing up for itself here in the 68th minute.
Damiani launches himself, studs up, straight leg. That should be a red card. That should be a red card based on the line that we have seen. That's why Tomas Jakob and Lucas Ojos got in his face. Damiani now going back to the Atlanta player who's down, trying to avoid anything else. It's Jacob who is down now.
Chapman is touching his ear.
I want to see it again. Here we're getting it looking now. Damiani launches himself into it. He cleans Jacob out.
And Jacob got right up and went right at Damiani.
Yeah, it's cheap, it's dirty, it's extremely no chance to the ball. Edwards right there as well.
Well, in my opinion, Jason, if an Mahai is sent off for the infraction he had in the first half, you've got to send Damiani off.
Yeah, but they won't. That's why he showed him a yellow card. He won't. Because Alan Chapman has reffed this game so wildly inconsistent. And Jacob, I have no problem with him going back down after it. Again, running the clock.
Yeah.
All of the things that we have seen Philadelphia do over the years. Damiani went at him late and with no chance to play the ball. That's a red anywhere else in the league. But Alan Chapman doesn't have the guts to make that red card call tonight.
Yeah. I don't know how Bruno Damiani survived the way that he did under normal circumstances.
No, he shouldn't have. I mean, and so that's where we can talk about Chapman being a bad referee, because he should not have been. He should not have had the chance to finish this match.
Right.
And that is a legitimate gripe that I had with him, because I thought he probably could have been sent off in the first half for 2 yellow cards. He had not just persistent infringement, but a foul that was to me a straight yellow card foul that Chapman went, no, it's fine, but then not really that nicely, because he was just mad at Atlanta United for existing, which same, but like he was very demonstrably opposed to anything Atlanta United tried to do.
Yeah.
It was not a good refereeing performance.
No,
it just factually was not.
And when you have, and Alan Chapman traditionally, and we do this on Fridays for those that may not watch or listen to us 5 days a week, is when it comes to a match day, we traditionally will look at the center ref. We'll look at how they have administered their whistle and cards during the season. Alan Chapman going into this match is by far, and I mean, it was a gap of 2 fouls per game. He is the least number of fouls called per match this season in Major League Soccer, by 2 fouls, and it is a number in the mid-teens. No one else is close to him, and he doesn't really give a whole lot of. He's given a handful of red cards, I think 1 every 4 match that he has administered, and then in his percentage of yellows per foul, it's about 25%. So if he calls 12 fouls, he usually ends up with 3 yellows, that kind of a thing. So when you're this inconsistent and frankly angry, I mean, your fourth says something.
Atlanta United committed 5 fouls this match.
Yeah.
Came off with a red card and 2 yellows, whereas Philadelphia with 15 fouls finished with 3 yellow cards.
Yeah,
that is imbalance. I will agree with you on that. So
yeah, and so it's difficult when you're having to, and this is, I think, the 3rd match that Alan Chapman has called against Atlanta this year. I think that's like, I know he's called 2. He might have called a 3rd. I might be thinking about last year. But when you have this kind of iniquity, it's concerning that you have this kind of iniquity from an established center ref with a history in this hemisphere, who now is so far below everyone else when it comes to fouls per match average, and then is just so wildly inconsistent about how he wants to administer things. It's just I present that evidence, counselor, to monitoring officials and being disappointed in them.
You're not going to like where this is going to go, because unfortunately it's going to talk more about Atlanta United not being a very good soccer team. But when you have the worst and the second worst teams in the league playing, you're not getting the good referee. That's just kind of unfortunately where we're at right now. And I don't mean that to be snarky about Atlanta United. I'm not here for that. But
no, it's tears when it comes to assignments.
That's what happens. We're not getting Ishmael Elfaf in this season because we ain't playing any games that matter.
And then the other element in this, and I'm going to present it this way. If I am not mistaken, VAR in this match was the first assignment at any position in a Major League Soccer match this season for that individual. And their first assignment was VAR in Atlanta and Philly. And I don't know if, because once again, we always stipulate, we want the game to grow. We want people to, if they want to be referees, we want them to be the best referee possible. We want them to grow into the game. We want more folks to watch the game. We want more folks to embrace the game. But I thought that it was, I thought that you were doing a disservice to this referee by putting them in VAR in what was going to be a hotly contested match to begin with for various reasons. But you put them in a position where they have a senior center ref, and you are enlisted as VAR in your first assignment in this league this season. You're not going to rock the boat because you want to be invited back. You want to be able to come back and sit at the lunch table. You want to come back, so you're not going to rock the boat for anything that happens on the field. Frankly, I'm waiting for Inside the VAR studio on Friday to see if there were any conversations from downstairs to upstairs, upstairs to downstairs. Hey, look at this. No, I'm good, or no recommendation at all on the Mahai card. I want to know what the conversations were with a first-time official and a senior center ref in a hotly contested match. That is another thing, and that's the thing. I want that VAR to be in a match where they can navigate, instead of being put in a position where I feel it's uncomfortable, and you're not going to rock the boat. Did that make any sense?
Yeah,
okay,
it does.
Okay.
I don't know how they make the determination of when someone should get their first ever assignment in a season. That's weird that it happens. That was the 18th match, I think, for both Atlanta and Philly.
Yeah.
That is a little weird. I don't know why that decision was somehow, made.
I mean, it might have been all hands on deck and travel and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, who needs?
Yeah.
Well, but I will say that this referee has done VAR before in other leagues in this hemisphere. So it is not something that is totally strange. But in this case, in their first MLS assignment, it was not as an AR. It was as VAR, or not even an AVAR. I don't even think that this center ref, this ref that was called up to be VAR in this match, I don't even think they had been AVAR in Major League Soccer this season.
And again, I think you're on to something about, is Pro and MLS working together? Are they working together to get the best assignments out there?
And I've always thought that pairing is important, especially if you have VAR and center ref. I would want there to be at least a relationship between those two, where they know where you're coming from, and they can and either side can take constructive criticism, if that makes any sense.
Well, we know one side isn't great at taking constructive criticism, so you're right. It was interesting. I just felt like, okay, I'm going to dip a little bit into Atlanta United here, so I apologize. I felt like Atlanta United played pretty well in this match, all things considered. It felt like a lot of things were stacked against them in a lot of ways, beyond just the generic, we're not a very good soccer team right now. And the fact that they held on for so long was pretty good, right? I felt like refereeing was absolutely one of those things in this match that, for some reason, and again, we only had 5 fouls called, so you're going, okay, well, why do we get a red card and 3 yellows? Like that to me, it does feel imbalanced. That's very fair to say on the score sheet. Now, again, you can have a small amount of fouls and still have yellow cards and red cards, because you don't get persistent infringement. It's not the only time you can get a yellow card or red card. But when you look at some of the similar fouls that Philadelphia committed and were called for, let's be honest. I mean, I thought Damiani absolutely should not have finished this game. He had at least a foul in the first half that should have been a direct, straight yellow card.
Yep.
In my opinion. that happened after the red card, which I think was another case of game mismanagement from Chapman. And this is just one of those things where once you give a red card, you know another team is hot. And not that you should give a yellow card, but when you have an opportunity to give a yellow card to the opponent, you should, because it does make things seem fair. And again, it's not, you got to look for it, but Damiani kicking a guy from behind should have been a yellow card. Should have been. I forget who he kicked. I think it was
well,
Miggy,
I know that there was a foul on Tristan after the.
Maybe it was Tristan. It was like we were trying to transition out of from offense to defense, and it happened right at the top of the area, and he kicks him pretty hard. That's pretty easy. Hey man, can't do that. Here's your yellow card.
Yeah,
and it wasn't his first foul of the game.
No, it was not.
So again, that kind of stuff is why were you so quick to go to a red card? Again, I'm not saying it's not a red card. I think I've been pretty clear that I thought it is a red card. But if you were very quick to do that, why are you not quick to give things that are also very clear yellow cards? That's the issue I had with his game management. On top of the, I don't know, just inability to have players talk to him at all. He seemed just. I don't know, I don't know what they were saying, but as a referee, you have to understand that players are going to talk and argue. I mean, they're going to go, "What do you mean?" or things like that. And when you give a red card to a team, like, you have to be ready to take that smoke. Yep, you have to. Especially in the 30-some minute or 20-some minute, I should say.
And that smoke was not allowed. It was not allowed one bit. So now that I've given you basically a lot of things to talk about, that's what I'm saying. Feel free to pull any of these excerpts from this show if you need to. If you need to insert them into 151. So I know what 151 is going to be about, but we got you off to a good start, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. We're hopeful to get some other news this week out of U.S. soccer. I mean, I think we expect some news about friendlies for the fall, but this was the biggest thing we were expecting it. And again, I think it's just a good thing that U.S. soccer moved quickly on this, because the biggest flaw from last cycle was we had 14 matches played with an interim manager. Now, I'm not saying that won't happen, because look, one of the concerns you're going to have is Pochettino going to stay all 4 years? But the fact that we're not starting the cycle with an interim manager is a positive. So let's be happy about that.
So keep an ear out for Soccer for US POD 151, because they're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to try to.
There you go. Yeah, timeliness factor. Hit it.
Yeah. Well, I also I'm getting on a plane to Cancun on Thursday morning. So I won't be here next Monday, because I'll be on. No offense, I'll be looking at a beach probably. Well, by the time I would have to get on here, probably already on consuming.
Yes, at said beach, consuming beverages of questionable alcoholic content. So we will, as always, wish you safe travels. But 151 coming up at some point this week. Look at friendlies, looking at this Mauricio Pochettino thing. It might have some legs. I don't know. We'll find out. As always, my friend, thank you for coming on to bat leadoff, considering this was a hell of a lead story to come on to, and I needed you to come in at 9:05 as opposed to other things. But thanks as always, my friend. Go enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right, have a good one. There he goes. There's Bart Keeler, and there he goes. I know that Jay and others are looking for Abe. Abe is on tape. So what I can do here is the way that we had structured the show this morning was that it was going to be the normal rundown. It was going to be Abe 92.9. Abe is basically in 2 places at once. He's with us on tape, and also he is up at Falcons camp for 92.9. So it would have been an impossibility for him to be in 2 places at once. So for him to be in 2 places at once, he's on recording. So I can play that here in just a little bit and let you know what Abe had to say about the match. And then we can come back out of that, hit our headlines, and get you ready for the rest of the day, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. So, but when the news for Mauricio Pochettino broke at 9:01 this morning from our friends at US Soccer, I basically yelled at Bart, and I'm like, can you come on early? Because we had that flexibility with Abe on tape. And so Abe came on early. Abe was there, available on tape. And so I talked to Bart, and I'm like, Bart, can you come on? Because this is breaking news. And an hour and 25 minutes later, we finally wrapped up the discussion of everything having to do with Alan Chapman and his inconsistency, and with what I thought was a yellow and not a red. I'm going to go back and look at it because we also don't know the angles that were given, because the angles that we saw on TV weren't all that conclusive. I can go back and look and check it. But we brought Bart in because of the breaking news, and it was big honking breaking news. And so we flipped the rundown basically to whenever Bart was going to be done, I would have Abe's comments from the weekend up. So that's why things are flopped right now. It's because of the breaking news involving Mauricio Pochettino. For those of you that may have missed it, 9:01 this morning, Mauricio Pochettino has signed a deal through 2030, and he gets to be a part of the process from top down now, which might be just as impactful as, or from bottom up, for the whole philosophy of what he wants U.S. soccer to be. He now gets it from day one of the new, technically day 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so day 21 of the new cycle for 2030. He now gets that. Salary is reported to be north of the $6 million figure that he had last time. Corporate sponsorship and gifts from benefactors attached to U.S. Soccer are the individuals that are going to be helping out when it comes to his particular salary figure. But it is known that it's going to be larger than the $6 million that he had, and that you're going to have the same impactful folks that helped out with salary number one that are going to help out with salary number two. So additional support provided by, so here's how it was phrased. Worked out, and this is from Henry Bushnell at The Athletic, worked out a deal that would ultimately pay Pochettino several $1 million annually, a deal that U.S. Soccer was supported in significant part by a philanthropic leadership gift from Kenneth C. Griffin, the founder and CEO of hedge fund Citadel. That was how it happened last time. And so you end up with this time around, you're looking at requiring a similar salary that was paid over the last 22 months, including a $2.5 million signing bonus, according to tax filings from U.S. Soccer. Record outlay for the federation, additional support. So hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin, additional support it added provided by Scott Goodwin, the co-founder of Diameter Capital, and by, quote, several commercial partners, end quote. In Monday's release, U.S. Soccer used similar language. Griffin, once again, the lead donor. In addition to him, Goodwin and commercial partners, U.S. Soccer named Adam Freed, the CEO of Madalux Group, and an investor whose portfolio includes LAFC, as a contributor. Revenue from commercial sponsors, The Athletic says, also greater than ever before. JT Batson, in an interview with The Athletic prior to the World Cup, indicated that the 2024 outlay for Pochettino would not be a one-off splash for the 26 tournament. 2030 and 34 World Cups, Batson said, quote, should be bigger because soccer is going to be bigger and our expectations should be higher. So that is the rundown of the anticipated salary figure for Mauricio Pochettino and backing of same. But no, we were very, very fortunate to get Bart to come in and be with us for as long as he did. So steering it back briefly to Atlanta United, here are the comments from Abe Gordon, recorded, and what Abe thought about the matchup. We walked through the matchup. For me to give you stats it really doesn't do a whole lot to describe the match in and of itself, because when you're a man down, stats get skewed and you're going to have numbers that are just going to be one-sided. So stats really aren't germane to the conversation. At the end of the day, Atlanta United had a 2-0 lead, down a man. They gave up that lead and lost 3-2. 2 goals within a minute of each other, 90 seconds, say. 90+6, 90+7. You go from being up 2-0 halfway through the second half to giving up a goal to Milan Olaski, which was a great redirect, a great flick because of Kai Wagner being able to navigate from back to front down the left-hand side. Once Alexei Miranchuk was subbed out, Kai Wagner was able to operate in ways that give him the freedom and give Philadelphia that offensive push that they needed up the left-hand side. He wasn't there in the first 70 minutes. Miranchuk is subbed out. Wagner gets more freedom to operate. Wagner sends in a cross. It's deflected, which slows the pacing of it down, makes it that much more convenient for Olaski to flick into the back of the net to make it 2-1. Then you end up with goals at 90+6 from Neil Pierre. And when Pierre is 6'7", that's going to be an instant matchup problem anyway. So Pierre's moved up front, service into the box. He gets to the ball ahead of the defender, gets it past Ojos, and it's 2-2. And then just a world-class volley from Ezekiel Alado that made it 3-2, and that was your final. But at the end of the day, 2-0 lead, down a man. You fought hard for 70 minutes after being down to a man in the 27th. Through the 70th minute, you were hanging in there. Flick from Olaski, and then 2 goals, 90+6, 90+7, and you go from being up 2-0 down to 3-2, and that was your final. So here are the comments. These are recorded comments with Abe in his analysis of the match. So here's our normal Monday conversation with Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app. So my first question is, do you want to talk about stuff off the field or on the field?
Let's go on the field. Okay. We can start there. And I know I sat here a week ago. I was very frustrated and angry. And we kind of talked about the idea of like what my reaction would be if Atlanta United doesn't come home from Philadelphia with 3 points.
Right.
I did not think Anaya Mihai was going to get straight red carded for almost the non-foul in the 26th minute. And so I do sit here saying I'm a lot more understanding of the result than I probably expressed a week ago. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm not here to criticize any individual here. I thought the performance was actually pretty solid. You're up against some real challenges when you get red carded like that, especially, I mean, it was a terrible game from Alan Chapman. There's not much else to say. And I know you'll be getting into it, reffing down here and all that. So it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster class from the officiating crew. But it did impact, obviously, the game, but also how I feel about this coming home. But I will say this because, and we can get to some individual performances in just a moment.
Sure.
You do go up 2-0. And so, yes, while I sit here kind of understanding of the result based on some of the scenarios you were presented with, I will say this. That's still not a game good teams drop. Yeah. Okay? You are up 2-0. And so if we were looking for another example of, hey, this team actually is just bad. And this, again, not individual performance. This is not a managerial thing. This is just the state of the franchise. Good teams find a way to close that game out. Bad teams do what we saw, which is give up 2 goals, 96th minute, 97th minute, not even find a way to get 1 point, cede all 3 points to the home side, Philadelphia. So it was just a reminder of, hey, this franchise, it really is going this bad right now. And there's not much else to say on that. It's very interesting that we've now got 3 straight games with a goal from Miguel Almiron. I don't want to ignore that. One of the better goals of the season from Tristan Moyamba. I don't want to ignore that. If anything, I've been begging Tristan, and not Tristan alone, but certainly Tristan, because I just think opportunity-wise, to take more shots from range. And we finally got one. He hit it well, and it goes in. But again, you're facing the other worst team in the Eastern Conference, and it's a situation where the worst team in the Eastern Conference finds a way to lose that game, and that's what you are. And I just don't know how I'm supposed to make any arguments outside of that at this point. You were given everything in that moment. And again, I know you were down at 10 men. I know it changes a lot of things. You were still up 2-0 going into the 70th minute. You were up 2-1 going into stoppage time. You have to find a way to ride that game out. And again, teams that aren't the worst team in Eastern Conference probably pull at least one, if not all 3 points in those two scenarios, up 2-70 in, up one, into the 93rd minute of stoppage time, 95th minute of stoppage time. So it was just an explainer of where this team is. And again, I don't think that's performance related. I don't think we're really to to pound on the offense. You were down a man. It obviously came back to bite you, but you've got to find a way to find 3 points there, considering the fact that you did go up 2-0. You didn't. And ultimately you have now staked your claim all the way at the bottom as worst team in MLS. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you had a lead and you lost it, regardless of the amount of men that were out there for you. You had that lead. You had against an 11-man team, your 10-man side gets one of the flukiest, weirdest looking goals that we've seen, where Miggy gets behind Pierre in Westfield, I think. And as he's falling down, he kind of clatters into the ball, and the ball, has Velcro to Miggy, and it finds its way past, Andre Blake.
Honestly, that ball going in, John, might have been a worse break than Mihai being red carded, because I think if that ball doesn't go in, I think you're sending someone to the penalty spot. I think Pierre's probably getting straight red as well for Dogso. And I know it kind of gets a little muddy because the keeper's right there and there's a second player on his back, but Pierre came across his leg, across Miggy and fouled. That's the reason Miggy went to ground. And the ball goes in. You can't have Dogso when it's not denying the goal scoring opportunity, right? But I almost would have taken that, inching off the post, putting us at the penalty spot and playing 10-on-10. So to some extent, you were a little bit bad luck. Now, that's assuming Chapman would have called that, which is, considering how it was officiated Saturday, its own discussion. But, I thought that would have been a red card and a penalty shot for Atlanta United. And maybe you're up 1-0 playing 10-on-10, and maybe it feels different the rest of the way. But yeah, it was, you had the lead and then you didn't.
Yeah. Well, and the idea was basically Mihai gets the red. You're trying to navigate to the half. You end up navigating to the half with a 1-goal lead. And then Tristan, in one of those rare moments in the second half, because basically you're there to defend for the second 45. There's no way around it. You're there to find every frickin', commuter train between Boston and DC and put it in front of that net in Chester. And you're there, you get one of those moments in transition. Tristan takes advantage of it, and it's 2. And then, once again, we're discussing the whole idea of having to play down a man for 70 minutes, and you get to 90 plus 6 and 7. Marking Pierre is not something that individuals really can do, mano a mano on the tape measure. When Ryan Richter finally decides, okay, I need Pierre up top at 6-7, that created mismatch problems. And then obviously when he's first to the ball and, it goes in, you're sitting there and it's like, okay. And then as we've seen, you try and stop the quicksand and it doesn't happen again. Once again, getting to the larger issues that we've been talking about here, you try to stop quicksand from happening and it happens once again. And now you have 2 weeks to think about it. And this really, it gets into, all right, how do you handle these next 2 weeks? Are you one of those athletes that sits there and treats it as a learning experience to build on? Or is it that weight on your shoulder that carries you on a downstroke? And I think that this 2 weeks will be interesting when it comes to practice and how things are navigated by this club.
Yeah, and again, look, it is a loss at the end of the day, and there's been way too many of those for this team this season. But I certainly feel differently about this one than about some of the other performances in recent. Obviously, it's tough to not get 3 points when you were in the situation, but the game state with I just didn't think the performance was that bad. I thought after Miggy's goal, until halftime was a real onslaught. I thought you got real lucky to get to halftime 1-0. I actually thought the team responded well out of halftime. You didn't really feel like onslaught. There was a little bit of that, but it didn't really feel overwhelming like, oh my God, it's just a matter of time. Like at the end of the first half, it was like, if they'd played 2 more minutes, you're like, it's going to be 1-1.
Well, it's because you had, 2 crossbars, right?
Yeah, that too. And then it just never felt like an onslaught until right at the very end. You're like, I was just trying to find a way to ride this thing out. You couldn't ride it out until it got to 2-2, and then obviously, obviously frustrating for Atlanta United. You almost want to credit. I mean that volley from Alado was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little tough to enjoy in the moment, but obviously a quality strike there. But I don't know if you're as down after this one as I would suggest maybe you should have been after New England. Like the performance didn't feel that bad. And I understand like where New England is as a squad and where Philly is as a squad, not exactly the same tier here, but right. I didn't think the performance was that bad. I think you got pushed up against the wall because of the situation with Mihai. And I thought you did as much as you could to respond, and then it just wasn't there anymore, which is tough because it didn't feel like it was an out of gas thing. It just felt like I don't know. I didn't feel like anything. It just happened, and it felt like you couldn't stop it. But it didn't feel like 70 minutes down a man, you just had nothing left to give. I thought Tata managed the substitutions well. I know there were some issues defensively after Moranchuk came out, but
and to your point there, I'll put a bookmark in that. I'll use my first time out with you. Kai Wagner, and I was talking with Dave Leno, the play-by-play voice of Philly, going into this match, and I said one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most is that matchup on Atlanta's attacking right, Philly's defensive left, where it's Wagner, Vasilev going up against Miranchuk and whatever, whomever else is going to be working up that right-hand side. Miranchuk and the attack for Atlanta United kept Kai Wagner defending, and he was inactive in the offensive play up that left-hand side, and so you had to see a lot of stuff happening up the right with the Philly and their offense. But then when Alexi was subbed out, that gave Kai Wagner the freedom to come forward and be that creator that we're used to, because on the Olaski goal, you see him with that service, and it's an unfortunate deflection, and I think that holds the ball up for Olaski, and it was a great flick, don't get me wrong. But Wagner's engaged. It's a deflection. Olaski puts it in. That's 2, and that starts the fall, if you want to call it, from that moment.
Yeah, and Maddie was quick to point that out as well last Saturday on the full-time report. She was really quick to say, man, defensively you let Wagner get into the game once Moranchuk came out, and again you're down a man, and so I don't know what the responsibility was given to, whether it was Stian or Luke. I think those were the 2 subs at that time, if I recall. Like what the responsibility was. Was it, hey, defend? Was it stay high? We're going to try and get you the ball and just one-man it to the corner flag and waste as much time as you can. So, without knowing what their responsibilities were coming into the game, directly from Tata, it's tough to criticize there. But yeah, you let the one of the 2 most dangerous players that Philly has, along with Olaski, get involved into the game at the wrong time, and obviously he made the difference. So again, the performance itself wasn't as debilitating as, in my opinion, the New England showcase was. But it was still, at the end of the day, a reminder that you're a bad team, because a better team finds a way, not every single time, but, within reason, a better team finds a way to get 3 points there.
Now, I know that you had mentioned individual performances. I don't know how deep you want to get into that. Because of not having Cooper Sanchez, your starting 11 had to look a little different. You went 3 center backs with wing backs as your way to kind of help things out with 2 strikers. Jason was this is one of the first things that Jason always reminded me when it comes to looking at formations. You always want to have 1 more back in defense than they do at striker. And so 3 center backs with going up against 2 and Damiani and Olaski, you got the 3 center backs, you get the support with the wings and everything. And I was, okay, I see how this is going. But I think we also saw how much Cooper Sanchez means to that midfield by not having him in there and having to adjust in a formation change.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm like infamously team formations don't really matter. They're kind of all the same. It's just in general, which way you slide, which way, who goes up, who stays back. I think generally they're all playing with the same idea. Now, that doesn't mean team principles are all the same based on formation, but I think they're all the same. I think 3 in the back or 5 in the back is the same thing. I think whether you run 4 in the back, it just kind of shifts who's going forward, who's staying back, whatever. Right. But so yeah, I think formationally you were challenged because of the midfield, and again, if Jay weren't injured, then you just slide Jay into Cooper's role there, and you kind of continue with Tristan and Will Riley and go from there. But you're forced to push Jacob a little bit further inside. Matt Edwards gets on the field, and you do a couple of things differently. Again, I don't think it was a bad defensive performance. I know you gave up 3 goals, but I don't think it was a bad defensive performance considering the man advantage. And I don't think, it was a bad offensive performance considering you're down a man and you still found a way to get 2 goals, take a lead. I think, again, it just fell apart late. But in terms of the individual performance, I find it fascinating that after doing almost nothing and garnering crazy amounts of criticism, and rightfully so, that Miggy now has 3 goals in 3 straight matches. And I just did not see that coming from anywhere. And now we can start to slide into some of the off-field discussions, some of the rumors that are going on that are happening in this moment. It's a very interesting time watching the incoming and outgoing. Well, we'll see about incoming, but definitely outgoing.
Yeah, you're reading my notes all of a sudden. So the word came down on Sunday morning late. Latte Lot now has a new home for this season, and it is a loan with a purchase option. And FC Union Berlin is going to be taking care of his salary as well, which is also important. So a piece that has been on the market for a while finally has a home. And so now that particular section of the roster has been taken care of, it opens up a DP slot. And you can start that shopping now as well.
Yeah, and look, Latte Loft didn't work out here. Good luck to him back overseas. The important aspect here is not necessarily that you got rid of Latte Loft or you're not paying salary, whatever. It's the DP spot. And now you've got to find something to add to this roster, whether it's right now in the immediacy with the window open. And I know there's some rumors out there, but even if you don't get it done in the immediacy, if you head into the off season and you still have that spot open and you take a little bit more time to figure it out. And then there's other options internally and externally, what to do with some of the other DPs as well. And so look, this was obviously the first step in terms of kind of remaking the organization and remaking. I think we all assume, John, the attack, right? You're not going to add another defensive player as the DP. Right. So this was the first step to reshape your attack, because you had to open up a DP spot. You've now done that. We're aware of some of the rumors that the World Cup players and the like that we've seen, and not really getting much of the fan base too excited. I can understand why. So we'll see where that heads. I don't really. Atlanta United has been attached to so many players, so many rumors that either fans have hated or even fans have enjoyed, that just kind of fell off. Like that people just stopped talking. And I assume the official discussions also fell apart as well. So I'm not going to get too like hot and heavy over any name I see or read about until it's official. Like even with the Latte Loth, like outgoing, like how many teams did we go through before he finally settled? Like there were 2 or 3 like serious, like, hey, it looks like this is falling apart, but this team's jumping in there, and like none of that happened. So you finally found one to take him on. Good luck to him. Good luck to them. But it's just tough to get like sucked into the rumors in terms of like what's real, what's not, until it actually happens. So until I get the 5 stripes, never stop, and then try and decipher what's going on, talk away, but that's all it is.
Yeah, it was Burnley and West Ham were the 2 that were linked. Burnley had the inside track, and then West Ham wanted to apparently pip the deal. But then you had work visa completion issues with Latte Lot and trying to get a work visa in Great Britain. And so then that kind of went away, and then you were trying to figure out another location, and that's when Germany steps up, FC Union Berlin comes in, and now he'll be a part of that attack going forward. Obviously, and we'll get into this in the show, obviously, the larger rumor on Sunday was Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
And the word that was coming out in various places, depending on amount of subscribers and sourcing and level of okay, what's your track record here? It looks like Lukaku, just regardless of where his new location may or may not be, he's tired of being a number 2, wants to be at the top of the charts when it comes to starting 11s. And apparently the club is willing to cut any kind of a transfer fee in half to basically 10 to 12 million US to get him moving. And so those are the two factors that came out on Sunday, trying to sit here and go, okay, so if that individual is linked to any club, those two parts would be attached to it. But then you have the pay scale, and his wage bill is close to 8, which puts him in the Miguel Almiron range for whomever would pick him up if he is looking at Major League Soccer, regardless of which franchise you're talking about.
Yeah, and look, I'm not the biggest fan of that move. It does feel like a retirement home, and I not to say that he still can't do it anymore. I thought we saw a really impressive performance a couple of times during the World Cup, but we're obviously slowing down. We're obviously nearing the end of the career, and that's just not really the type of move that United has made traditionally. Maybe they should, just to get someone that is legitimately proven and has done it before, to solidify in the short term or in the meantime. But that's not a move that generally gets me overly excited. This is not a team that's one Lukaku away from contending. And by the time that maybe you figure a bunch of other things out and are contending, he'll be retired, or retiring, or severely slowed down. And so I'd prefer a little bit younger, somewhere you could either develop with the club or then potentially continue to sell on, something like that. So it doesn't get me that excited. It's a cool name. Maybe it would make this season, next season, a little bit more fun, but ultimately I don't know how much closer that gets you to contending, which is ultimately the goal here.
Yep, Atlanta United working out during Leagues Cup, so the home return is 2 Saturdays against Red Bulls on the 15th, if my math is correct. All right, so what can you tell me about Tua Tagovailoa and the quarterback situation with Atlanta Falcons, considering that Tua's on my bench in fantasy?
He shouldn't even be rostered in fantasy. I know that obviously Atlanta's got a bevy of weapons there, and so maybe there's some value, but I don't think I'd be starting Tua at any point in fantasy. But I do think he'll be starting in week 1. The physical update for Michael Penix is not great in terms of holding a quarterback competition, and so I do think Tua should be good to go Monday's practice, in terms of he had a little back tightness, but I think it was much ado about nothing. So they're supposed to be putting on the pads Monday. Tua should be back Monday, full 11 on 11. So it should be an interesting day of practice at training camp, and looking forward to it. But yeah, I wouldn't start either of these quarterbacks until proven otherwise.
Well, that's why he's on my bench. He's that bye week guy that you want to throw in because you know that he's going to be getting starter reps. And so for me right now, my backups in fantasy, because I've got Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is my starting quarterback.
So when is the Eagles bye week?
Good question, sir.
Because you're playing with fire here, because there's a fair chance, I don't know, and I'm not leaning one way or the other.
Right.
There is a fair chance that by the bye week for Jalen Hurts, Tua may not be the starting quarterback and may not be getting starter reps. There's always that possibility as we work our way through the Falcon season.
Right. And so schedule week 1, 2. See, I'm sitting here going, all right, so where's my bye week? Week 9, week 10 is the bye. So that
When's
would be
the Falcons week bye?
So that would be November 15th. Week 10 is the bye for Philly. So if I go Atlanta Falcons,
Are they week 10 or are they week 11?
See now,
They're week 11. They're week 11.
okay. So I'm safe in that regard. I mean, I also have the starting quarterback in Las Vegas. Not that one. Yeah, I got Kirko.
Right.
Because you figure he's going to get reps until they decide that Mendoza is ready. And I also have lying in the wings Mac Jones in San Francisco because of what has happened to Brock Purdy in the past. And so I'm probably going to have to make an executive decision because I think you're only allowed 3 QBs in my league. So it's going to be, probably getting Kirko and sending him onto the waiver wire, hanging on to Tua because I know he's going to start, and then having Jones in case Purdy gets injured. So that's my thought anyway.
Yeah, that's probably how I would ride it out as well. At least unless Tua loses his job, and then you could probably dump him at that point as well. But I like what you're thinking. I like where you're thinking.
Okay. I know that you're multitasking. As always, thanks for dropping by and hanging out with us to bat leadoff on Mondays. We will catch up with you down the road, and we'll keep an eye on where Atlanta United is as we are in the bye for everybody who's playing Leagues Cup. As always, my friend, be safe, safe travels. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
And there's Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app. Come on now. I'm supposed to delete. Where is it? There we go. That's it. There it is. All right. So I'm gradually figuring this thing out. Maybe some year I will. Okay. So that was our conversation that we had with Abe Gordon. And the news on Romelu Lukaku came from Sasha Tavolieri. And that was, as we were discussing, MLS showing strong interest in bringing the Belgian striker over. Talks currently underway to explore the possibility of reaching an agreement on personal terms. Deal still at an early stage. So that's the latest on anything involving a Romelu Lukaku conversation and Atlanta United. So that's kind of where we are with that. Taking the tour, just another couple of things going on, then we'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Tim Payne. This was going to be opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. But Mauricio Pochettino turned into opening kickoff for an hour and 20 minutes. So Tim Payne goes viral during the World Cup because you had an influencer trying to find the World Cup athlete that had the least amount of social followers on social media. So then he finds Tim Payne, who is a right back in New Zealand, and takes Tim under his wing from a social media perspective. And then Tim Payne's social media blows up, especially in South America. He makes his debut for Olympia in Paraguay with 20 minutes to go. First Division Cup match where they were blowing out Rubio New. And he ends up getting the goal, getting a goal late in that matchup. So that was very, very cool. So that was our moment of cool. And that would have been opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied. Notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Colo-Colo has their keeper. Vozinha has now arrived. Yosimar Evora Diaz, who I think is how it has to be on his jersey because you're not allowed nicknames. So Yosimar Evora Diaz, we know him as Vozinha, showed up in Santiago at the Santiago, Chile airport last night. 3 separate delays. It had the fans waiting for a week, but Vozinha is now at Colo-Colo. News from in and around Major League Soccer. You had Robert Lewandowski scoring both goals in the 2-1 win over Charlotte. Our Jess Charman was on the call. You can go back and listen to Jess. Casemiro had a rough night in a 2-2 draw. Ended up with an own goal as a part of that in his home debut. And you had that going down. You had Kevin De Bruyne now apparently eyeing Major League Soccer as well again. So that name has come back through. It is his frustration under Max Allegri, now drawing interest from Miami, Chicago, and San Diego. And obviously, Messi and friends are your favorite there. Hull City has reached a club-to-club agreement with Colorado Rapids to sign 18-year-old Australian defender Lucas Harrington for $17 million up front, with possibly another 6 in add-ons. Colorado also gets 15% of any future sale. Max Arfston, now, as we mentioned, kind of in hour number 1. Max Arfston is heading to Middlesbrough, expected there this week. Gio Reyna, we talked about that with Bart. moving to Strasbourg from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Medical scheduled for today, 5-year, €3 million deal. Then you had, let's see, June Endo is going to miss the remainder of the season with a right ACL tear suffered back July 11th against San Diego. Second season-ending knee injury in 3 years. Emily Sonnet, surgery for a ruptured patella tendon, going to miss the rest of the 26th season, complicating her timeline for the World Cup. Then you have Valentin Barco getting signed by Chelsea from Strasbourg as another piece of their rebuild. Randall Colomawani's made his Juve move permanent, €38 million plus up to 12 more in bonuses, 10 goals in 22 matches on a loan spell last season. River Plate loses to Rosario Central, extending their losing streak to 5 across all Argentine competitions. Worst run in a 5-game skid since 1911. They lost to Belgrano. Then they go Aldosivi, Barraca Central, and Gimnasia y Esgrima. 5 straight losses. Speaking of Thiago Almada, leaning toward River Plate over Flamengo. And that looks like that one's going to be $20 million for half the pass. Neither club's finalized an agreement yet with Atletico de Madrid. And then in WAFCON, as we track down our friend Ali Howarth and see if he can join us this week, Morocco, Malawi, Cameroon, only unbeaten sides remaining after match day 2 in WAFCON. Malawi playing in their first ever tournament, beat Nigeria 3-2 and Egypt 3-1. So that is the rundown of all of that stuff around the planet. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Looking at your rumors, Arsenal going all out to sign Vinicius Jr. Mikel Arteta has stepped in, according to AS. Reportedly told the 26-year-old how important he would be for the club. Has not been training amidst the saga, and unknown whether he will inform Madrid whether he wishes to sign a new contract or not. ATLUTD considering a move for Jack Grealish, who spent time on loan at Everton, and this is from the 3-letter paper. Spanish club admire his work rate, seen as a good tactical fit for Diego Simeone. Might have to accept a rotation role if he moves, given the competition on the squad. Could also look to return to Everton if the move doesn't come off. Internazionale negotiating with Spurs for a deal to sign Cuti Romero for around €40 million, according to Corriere dello Sport. Inter still need to overcome a gap in valuations with Romero's agent regarding commission and salary. Move is likely to be followed by the departure of Benjamin Pavard. Inter also trying to persuade Liverpool to lower their demands of around €40 million on Curtis Jones. Barca calm about signing Julian Alvarez from Atleti. Could also decide not to add a striker if they can't add him, according to Diario. Having lost Robert Lewandowski, they added Anthony Gordon and Karim Adeyemi to Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. Atleti have been upset with Barca since the club made a €100 million offer for Alvarez, but the forward wants him to negotiate. Liverpool and PSG both refusing to re-engage with the race to sign Yan Diomande after being approached by intermediaries, as they believe he remains fully committed to joining Real Madrid, according to Team Talk. Madrid reached an agreement with the 19-year-old on personal terms. Transfer has been delayed by negotiations between them and Leipzig. Structure of the add-ons package has been the main issue. Nicolas Shearer, Arsenal's €90 million move to sign Bruno Guimaraes is in the final stages. Cody Gakpo and his camp have held positive discussions with Spurs. Liverpool don't want to let the forward leave, according to Team Talk. And Borussia Mönchengladbach, Gio Reyna, we mentioned that one. Roma want to sign Endrick on loan from Real Madrid with an option to make the deal permanent, which could include a clause allowing Los Blancos to re-sign him. That's from Gazzetta. Fabrizio Romano with a couple. PSG have sent a €33 million package to Parma for Zion Suzuki, now ahead of Juve in their efforts to sign him. PSG also have sent Ajax an offer worth over €40 million for Mika Götze, who already has agreed to personal terms. Manchester United's Joshua Zirkzee, he's been in the news a lot with us, intrigued by the prospect of joining Juve, although they need to offload Jonathan David before doing it. That's from Gazzetta. Sky Italia, Internazionale have reestablished contact with Al Ittihad regarding Moussa Diaby, but a move remains complicated financially. Nicolas Shearer, PSG keeper Lucas Chevalier has been offered to Juve, but isn't currently a priority. Also, Nicolas Shearer, Jean-Luc Oumi has given his priority to Juve, who've offered Bologna €17 million for the center back, despite the Rosa Blue wanting 25. And Fenerbahce have opened talks to sign Crystal Palace forward Ismaila Sarr. Napoli confident that they'll be able to sign Chelsea center back Benoit Badiashile on loan with an option to make the deal permanent. Juve hasn't given up on him, according to L'Equipe. Roma have offered Feyenoord 29 million euro for Givido Reed in an effort to accelerate the deal for the right back. That's from Corriere dello Sport. Cologne has sent Spurs an official offer for Mikey Moore. Negotiations at an advanced stage with Spurs, and that once again comes from Fabrizio Romano. Checking with our friends, as we are wont to do in these situations, and Zimai Media, who has 240 followers, has something mentioned about Arif Kovac, but we're not going to give that any kind of weight, considering 240 characters is not going to move the needle. So Ben Jacobs, who's been very busy this morning and every morning. So let's see what Ben has going on in his world that we haven't talked about yet. Chelsea confirming Jordan Henderson joined as a free after leaving Brentford on a 2-year deal. He's holding up the jersey and smiling in front of a background, so it's obviously official. Trevor Chalaba's move to Como now agreed, according to Fabrizio Romano, 30 million euro plus 6. Chelsea get a sell-on. Chalaba has already agreed to personal terms. Talks for Guimaraes remaining at the final stages. Movement expected in the coming hours or days. Then we've got, Mikhailo Mudryk drawing interest from several clubs now that he's eligible to play football again. He'll finish Chelsea's preseason tour in Asia and then assess his next steps, hoping for clarity by mid-August on whether he's staying, loaned, or sold. Coventry City have shown an interest, but not the only suitor. Chelsea want to assess his form and fitness first, and then will work with the player to find the best solution for all parties. Then, we mentioned that one. Ipswich close to a deal to Burnley midfielder Florentino Luis. Fees in the region of 20 million euro. Ipswich now working on agreeing to personal terms. Hull said he had also been in advanced talks, but now no longer in the race. Konstantin Solakis has moved to Hull from Olympiacos, is now done for 17 million pounds. Talks also still ongoing with Aston Villa's Leon Bailey. That's from both Alex Crook at TalkSport and Ben Jacobs. Earlier this morning, Newcastle had rejected a formal Arsenal offer for Bruno Guimaraes. And left Brazil on Sunday, flew overnight, arriving at Newcastle in Spain shortly. Parties had agreed to a delay of a few days, but the amended plan was to return on Monday. Guimaraes has never said that he won't return for a double negative or train as Arsenal work on finalizing an agreement. Club Brugge confirmed Korean international Lee Han-byum has joined from Midtjylland on a 3-year deal. And we mentioned Solis. We mentioned Luis. Mark Skinner has left his role as Manchester United women's head coach by mutual consent. That happened very, very early this morning in our overnight. Newcastle confirmed Czech Republic international keeper Lukas Hornacek has joined from Braga on a 5-year deal with a 30 million euro fee. He has pen in hand, I think, because his left hand is covering over it, smiling at the camera, and hands over contract, pen not touching. So I'm guessing it's official. So Valentin Barco joining from Strasbourg on a contract to 33. Deal had been pre-agreed ahead of the summer. Now going domestically and trying to see what Tom Bogert has as a part of his rundown this morning. Then it is, we mentioned Lucas Harrington. Sporting Kansas City's reached a verbal agreement within the hour in talks to sign winger Andre Luis from Olympiacos. Sport 24 in Greece was first to report it. The fee is $18 million plus add-ons, according to sources. The deal is not done. Details to sort out. Kansas City's moving forward with it. That is from Bogert and Paul Tenorio. We mentioned that one. And Club America finalizing a deal to sign Edwin Cerrillo from the LA Galaxy. Cerrillo, 25, 117 apps with the Galaxy, held out of the team's game this past weekend as the deal got closer. Levy Time on the Twitters was the first to report the Cerrillos deal. And so that is, I think we're caught up on all the Twitters and the newsmakers. What to look at today, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it by our friends at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps them out, helps us out, helps you out to get all of the streaming that you may not have had or known about that you can hop on to now and get with Fanatis. You get all the BNs, which means you get WAFCON, which is going on right now. I've been kind of nerding out on WAFCON this tournament and watching it on the BNs. Temwa Shawinga and Malawi are doing gangbusters in their first ever appearance in the tournament. It is all of the BNs. You get AFCON. You get all of the African qualifiers, all the African qualification tournaments. You get all of that. You get also the French League, the Turkish League, and the Polish League. More on Polish League in a minute. And you get TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile, TEC Sports out of Argentina. You get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, links to Tigo Sports and CATV. At TEC, you also get Copa Argentina. You get a lot of the A and B divisions from around the country, around the continent of South America by going through Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. BN has your Monday Night Football in the Polish League, Cracovia Krakow, and Pogoń Szczecin. That's at 1 o'clock, and that is simulcast on BN Español. Fox Deportes has Argentina's Liga Profesional de Fútbol de Sarsfield Independiente is at 6. Paramount Plus has Leagues Cup at 2:30 and the Scottish Premiership at 2:30. York City, Crawley Town, Celtic, and Dundee. Women's side, AFCON, 4 o'clock, Senegal and Morocco, BN Español. ESPN Plus has the Northern Super League, Halifax and Ottawa. That is tomorrow at 2. El Farolito has won their second title in 3 years in the NPSL. We're going to be catching up with their head coach, and that will be on tomorrow's show. Santi Lopez will be joining us. They had to be out of the hotel by noon yesterday in Bristol, Virginia, and they flew back to San Francisco. We're catching up with him this afternoon. We're going to air that tomorrow. We're also catching up with Keeler Hodges tonight. That'll be on tomorrow. The situation in Oakland and USL Championship and everything else that's going on. League One, Prinks, if someone has seen a Prinks tire. Championship, League One, Prinks Cup, all the things. Catching up with him. And we get to talk about Chicharito and Atletico Dallas. So we'll catch up with Keeler. That's going to be on tomorrow. News out of Chattanooga this morning is that Richie Dixon is going to be, now it is done and dusted. He's head coach. Served as interim head coach since February of this year, multi-year agreement to become the permanent. And we are efforting having him on the show tomorrow morning as well. So tomorrow morning, in a perfect world, we'll see where KCD is on her tour of the planet. But it's going to be hopefully Richie Dixon from Chattanooga. You're going to get Santi Lopez from El Farolito in the NPSL title. Keeler Hodges from the USL show and at Keeler Hodges. And we'll see if Casey White can join us to talk about what happened in her matchup this past weekend where she got to see Kansas City firsthand with Christian Miles. So we'll see if we can catch up with KCD as well. But tomorrow we just don't know the time slot. Efforting Richie Dixon out of Chattanooga. We're going to have Santiago Lopez from El Farolito, the NPSL champs, and we're going to have Keeler Hodges from the USL show. Those three we know. I don't know the order yet. And like I said, we're efforting KCD as well to see what she can discuss as her world traveling continues as only it can travel. So that is the rundown of what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis for a Monday at fntz.co/soccer down here. I think we got everything covered. I think we did. We're going to be getting into our college coverage fairly quickly. Let's see. So we mentioned Thiago Almada and River. Santi Sosa, by the way, is leaving Racing and transferring to Vasco for about $8 million. The future of Coudet at River is in the balance, considering that they've lost 5 in a row. And let's see, we mentioned Tim Payne, we mentioned the U20s, we mentioned Alan Chapman, mentioned Atlanta United. Oh, the Unified team. Hello. Before we get out of here, Unified had another big weekend. They went to Philadelphia, and it was a banner weekend for the Unified team. On the road, taking on Philadelphia Union Unified at the WSFS. What's the name of that place? The WSFS Sportsplex is the official name of the joint. And so at the WSFS Sportsplex on Saturday afternoon, the Unified team took on Philadelphia. They were down 1-0 in the second half, and then this happened. Maddie and Greg Garza on the call.
McElhinney. Back heel to X-Men. X-Men with the shot into the back of the net.
X-Men, you have just proved me wrong, buddy. Straight to your left foot, and what a wicked bullet strike. I'm telling you, you get this guy in the box, he is lethal.
We were waiting for the moment. So many moments. It's the outside of the foot from McElhenney, and then the X-Men. Just a rocket with the left foot shot into the back of the net. Finds the equalizer here for Atlanta United.
Great composure. That's not an easy strike with that ball rolling back. It usually would probably lift with any other player whenever you hit that ball. Does a great job with controlling his body shape, controlling the way he hits that strike with his left foot. And hey, his fun fact is his left foot is stronger and better than his right. So, hey, preaching to you, Mr. X. You've done extremely well. Prove me wrong since I've watched the beginning of this game. Hey, I think you got both feet to score some amazing goals. And once again, we are now in that final third again. X-Men in the box.
Oh, slips through into the back of the net. It's Stewart again. He has been on fire in this matchup. And he's able to find one to show all the hard work as well. He slots it home, finds the second for Atlanta.
With his weak foot, too. It is weak foot galore today. Look at this celebration. Look at the happiness and joy within Mr. Liam Stewart. That energy within his soul. Look at the celebration over to his teammates, over to his coaching staff. Don't you love it? The bond and relationship that all these young men and women have. He's giving everyone a high five. He brings positivity. The epitome of positivity, Mr. Liam Stewart. Everly had put his body on the line right there. Just got run over by a truck, but oh my goodness, courageous young man who put his body on the line right there. I hope he's okay.
I feel like,
look at that, and both of them giving each other a massive hug after. Everybody's going to do his dance. Just watch, huh?
Love it.
I think he just realized that they won the game. He's like, nothing hurts anymore. I'm okay.
He's like, I'm all right. I'm all right. And it's one, I think that last play completely exemplifies the entire matchup too. The resilience and the battle. You see Alex Eberle shaking hands with everybody. But it was the battle back from Atlanta, going down 1-0 and then able to battle back. And they find 2 goals, able to get the 2-1 win on the road.
And so Atlanta United continues, the unified team continues their winning ways and their unbeaten ways in club history. I don't have the number in front of me. I'll try and find it. But the unified team has been crushing it ever since day one. Marty Jellamy and the staff have been doing great work. And they start, they're on the road in Philly, and they get the Duke in Philly. So that was really cool as well on Saturday afternoon at the WSFS Sportsplex in Chester, Pennsylvania. So unified team continues to crush it, and can't wait for the next matchup with them. Now we've covered everything. I knew there was something on the list I almost forgot. But that's a rundown. Very, very busy day. Thanks to Bart for hopping on bat and leadoff and talking about Mauricio Pochettino. We talked about Atlanta United. Abe was there to discuss. We discussed Latte Lot. Put Romelu Lukaku out there for public discourse and for information. Keep an eye on that. Once again, Sasha Tavolieri and the Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy and all the other incomings and outgoings. But once again, Latte Lot, FC Union Berlin, frees up a DP slot. FC Union Berlin is going to be taking care of the salary as well. So it's loan option with a loan with a purchase option. So he'll be at FC Union Berlin this year with them in the Bundesliga, and we are efforting Bundesliga expert opinions so we can discuss the season going in, what FC Union Berlin looks like as a club, and how they're going to be on the field. So that's also in the pipeline as well. So that's a day. We went way over, but no real shock. Back at it again tomorrow. Once again, Chattanooga FC, El Fadelito, Keeler Hodges, the USL show, and we'll see if KCD can join us as well. So that's tomorrow coming up here on SDH AM. We got Leagues Cup to talk about too. Since it is the end of the show, that means one thing. And thanks to all of you folks. Oh, let me see who is here before I get out of here. Gee whiz. David and Jay and Wiley and Will. And I saw Abby and Ropes. And let me see. Who else am I missing here? Let's see. There's Abe. There's Ropes. There's Will. There's David. There's Dell. Dell getting to talk about Colton Swan. Absolutely. Yes. And the movement of Thiago Almada. Thank you for that, Alex, as always, for being the intrepid producer that you are. I do need a new round of the Clausura. So keep an eye out for that this week. And we'll continue that in Picks of the Week in the Discord. If you'd like to join into the Discord, please consult Jarrett. Jarrett is the master of the Discord. So that is the end of your Monday on SDH AM. Since it's the end of the show, back at it in less than 22 hours. Means I get to do this. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Reaction Monday. Stack Tuesday tomorrow here on SDH AM. And keep an eye out throughout the day for everything all across the board. Morning Espresso email, special reports, all the things, all here on the SDH Network. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We'll catch up with you soon.